That is an earth shaker of a kick drum. Snares hitting really hard, much more of an electronic sensibility about it, but still with that sense of live performance. Well, welcome back once more to Green One here at University of Huddersfield. Yeah, this is the final video in our series of these particular three videos that we're working on here. The good news is there are more videos coming. This time not done by me, but Mark Mynett is going to be doing a video. And we're looking to keep making content as we go through this year. And actually looking for some original content to work on as well as these covers that we're working on here. So, yeah, the Vossi Bop session. So we've already heard our four tracks, our four microphones that we've got recorded. Just as a reminder, there's good intent there, good pop, good punch, but it needs more, and that's not going to be achieved with the collection, with the sort of the combination of things that we've already worked with, which is our performer, our instrument, our microphones. I feel we've done what we can do there at this particular point. So then we've got all these other tools available to us. We've got EQ on the console, we've got the hardware EQ, we've got compressors, all sorts of things that we can turn to. So just very quickly, I decided to do a pass through some analog processing. And again, we're using my trusty headphones to make sure I was hopefully going down the right path. Did some quite quick processing on these four channels. So we had our sort of original kick, which is here. Which I'm sure you'll all agree is a little bit different to what we had before. We've gone from a punchy but spitty kick to a kick drum that's punching really hard, simply by EQing it. Literally just EQ'd it using the SSL EQ that you see there, and it's quite dramatic in its processing. You'll probably see some footage of it through this thing. What I don't want to do is say set this to this, this to this, and this to the other to get this sound. I see people watching things like Pensado's Place and pausing it to copy the settings, because unless your kick is identical to mine, there's no point knowing that. What becomes important is that I added some low end, and quite a lot of low end. And again, I see people, if I drew that curve out from what I've got there, someone might say, oh, that can't be right. You've got 12 dB of boost here, you've got 3 dB of cut there, and 6 dB of boost there, gain there, like sort of 2-3K range boosting, 50-60 hertz, you've got tons of low end. And it's like, well, for me, this kick drum needed that to have the impact that I needed it to have. And we've got significant change here. And if I'm drumming, I hear my kick drum coming back like that, I'm only going to hit it harder, because I'm going to be like, ooh, 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 hello, and I'm going to hit it harder to get more of that kind of power. It's exciting, it's vibey, it's energy. So really, I want my artist hearing it as well. On this occasion, Adam wasn't able to hear what we were doing. So that was the change in the kick drum, pure EQ. Then we had our snare. Sorry, that's a kick out. We'll come back to kick out. So there's our snare. And our process snare, which is obviously a lot louder. But it's been EQ'd to really push the top end of it. If I say the top end, upper mid-range, to really make it feel like it's been squeezed and splatted. It's also getting hit by a distressor, and the distressor's trying to make it, I want that sense of clench and push, like to make it sound almost less organic, less analog, if you like, to give it that more of a squeezed electronic kind of vibe. With the way that it's punching, the kick out has been heavily processed as well. So our original kick out is here. And that turns into this. And that almost sounds like a sine wave under it, with a sub. And that's purely resonance in the Pultec EQ. So the Pultec EQ, a lot of low end boost, a bit of cut in there to try and tidy up some of that resonance. To be honest, it now needs a high pass filter on it just to clean up, because there's some really, really low stuff that you really hear in the mains, but you clear up the very low stuff in there. But just a bit of simple processing, really, simple low end processing, and then some snap added again with the Pultec to really make that one sing. And the last one that we processed was the mono overhead, which is here. He says soloing the snare, so here's the mono overhead. And this one just went through a little bit of EQ and an LA2A. It's interesting because it's made it smaller. It's actually a smaller sound, but with way more low end. So in this case, this was done with the close mics up. This was not individual tracks being processed. Already had my close mics in and needed to control the overhead because the overhead felt too live. So it just felt too kind of performed, if you like, and I wanted to try and get more control. So squashed it a bit with the LA2A and then added some low end with the EQ. And so when you put them all together, I'll just turn on my process bus here, group. So that's my original 4. That is an earth shaker of a kick drum, snares hitting really hard, much more of an electronic sensibility about it, but still with that sense of live performance. The other mic that seemed fun earlier was the corridor, if you remember. So I shall solo my corridor here and we'll remind ourselves of that. Which is already kind of explosive. So bear with me 1 second. We're going to suspend the group and just solo this mic here. So I decided I was going to smash the 1176 on the corridor vocal, just because it's a thing that people talk about, just to see what happens. And this is 2 of the 4 buttons in. You'll find this when you go with it. In fact, this is a good one to measure. Anyone who does Austin's critical listening module, you get the opportunity to measure compression tools and look at the compression transfer curve. Have a look at the compressor curve when you start pushing multiple buttons in on 1176. You get some weird and wacky looking curves and release behaviors, and 2 of the 4 buttons in on this particular Universal Audio one seemed to be quite in time. So let's see what it did to it. You can hear it, it's like oscillating, going nuts. The compressor's going completely bonkers, chopping up waveform, re-wave shaping, attacks so fast that it's causing distortion in the low end because it's moving quicker than a wavelength. Real, nastiness, and then all that moving, but somehow manages to create a sense of groove. So let's hear all of those together, and we'll introduce a bit of this I just love those 4 mics right now. They're punching so hard, just from a bit of simple EQ and compression. Actually, having the confidence to turn an EQ up. If the bass isn't there and you want the bass there, well, it's not going to add bass that doesn't exist. It can only turn up bass that's already there. But in tools like a Pultec, you do get resonance in the inductors, etc. So it's an interesting sort of point. And then to take it one step further, there's also on the console an opportunity to engage some further processing. In the form of this output section here on the Heritage Edition, I've got an ability to add a button called Retro Iron. So if I push that, lights up. I've now put a transformer on. We talked earlier on the API pre's about what happens with transformers. This is happening on my mix bus. So it's transient rounding and a bit of EQ and a bit of distortion. But I've also got a low bump and a high lift on my EQ to almost represent the low bump you would get from tape and some high frequency compensation EQ. So, very classic kind of processing available on the desk. And we decided to print back through that and also through the bus compressor on the console, which is also present. So we took our original processed and then ran that through the bus compressor and the channel processing. And that's made it fatter, it's pocketed the groove a little bit more, and again, added to the sort of sense of authenticity around it. It feels more, I think, more true to the track, and all achieved with very, very simple processing. You just need to have the confidence to give it a go, knowing that here I've also recorded my clean. So if I have a mess and make a mess of it, I've not lost anything. I can always go back to my original recording if I've got a translation issue or something like that. But have the confidence to give it a go, but also use the opportunity to study these tools, to understand what they offer you, understand what's going on inside them, why they sound the way they do. Then listen with criteria. Give yourself a criteria for how you listen to these things. What are you listening for as a change? What's the sort of transfer function of this tool? And then put it into practice with some music. It's the only way you're going to get better at this. If you want to become a world-class pianist, you practice. If you want to be a world-class producer, mix engineer, recording engineer, mastering engineer, whatever it is that you're wanting to do, the only way that you're going to get great at this is to practice it, to learn your tools, to understand your tools, both the science, the creativity, the music, pull it all together, and hopefully you're going to walk away making some fantastic sounding music. And again, one last request, I guess, is, don't always just do what you need to do to sort of pass a module. Hand in the best of your work. Make the most of every opportunity you can get to record. By creating content like this, maybe you can gain some of the experiences that we've had by making these kind of sessions, to give you some opinions, give you a head start. So when you go into the studio, you've already got an idea of what it is you're trying to achieve musically and how you might achieve it by what you're learning on all the various modules that you're studying and by looking at this kind of extra content that's happening here. So please make the most of it. Talk to us. We're always available through the sort of various channels that are put in place around tutorials, etc. And we'll do everything we can to help you on sort of, make your move towards your sound. And that's the important thing here, is that you're on a journey to making the music that resonates with you. Fantastic. Please do take these sessions. Bring in your own work as well. Here, effectively, the work I did with the EQ here was very, very quick to do. Again, you could drop in a short session with a track you've made. Maybe you've been beat making, you've got a kick and snare that you want to process through these processing channels. Come in, give it a go, see where you end up, because there's something magic about getting hands-on with some analog equipment in your processing. I think you learn about things differently, and actually it makes you use your software differently. Plugins are fantastic, they really are, but there's something about that human interaction with the tools and feeling the voltage through the pots, as it were. Get stuck in, give it a go, speak to us, go make some great music.